Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, as you can see by the screen, you know what time it is. It's time to do bracket predictions for CDL champs. Hard to believe we're here, but here we are. We're going to do bracket predictions and then talk about what the real win condition and potentially also loss condition is for each team at champs after we do the predictions. Going to do them each individually. If you guys are new and you enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We appreciate all your support as always, and it's the most exciting week and weekend of the year if you're a CDL fan. So let's just jump into this one. Brock, how you doing today?
Oh, doing good on this, Monday predicting and off the champs here in a couple days. Doing great.
Yeah, it's an exciting week. It's not only exciting for champs. I mean, we both obviously have a vacation coming up, heading to champs, so it's an exciting time. For COD, for our lives to go on a little vacation. It'll be my first time somehow, living in the US my whole life. It'll be my first time in Texas. I'm not really looking forward to the 95 degrees and humid,
Yeah.
but it'll be nice to be inside the venue, go outside. It'll be nice to check out some food spots, check out the city. It's gonna be a good time. I'm excited for champs. It's an event where we don't really know what's going to happen. All four of our top four teams have won. They've won, Brock. Every single one of them has won this year. OpTic are looking rough. Subliners have finally hit form after being pretty much the fourth odd man out all year. LAT seem to look a little bit strong. LAG are seeming to look the best they have looked all year. Seattle Surge have been on a good run as of late. And even the Miami Heretics, all four of our bottom four teams that ended up making this, none of them really like limped or backed their way into champs. Like LAG made a strong run to make it. Miami's had a good last couple stages to make it. Surge has had a good last couple stages since the roster change. And Thieves has been pretty consistently good online, at least. Like none of them really limped their way in like we've seen in years past.
Yep.
Leads to more exciting champs because it's never fun when you have that eighth place team that just like got way ahead in the points and just limped their way in and they're just terrible and you know what's going to happen. Like we assume Miami is going to get taken out by FaZe in round one, but hey, Miami doesn't look like they're just completely limping and dead in the water going into it.
Yep. Agreed. I kind of want to see this a team outside the top four win.
Yeah, I would like to go into the second day of the tournament knowing that one of the top four is in losers bracket.
hmm Yep.
Because I mean, obviously, we have as much of a chance as any because they're split up into four different matches. There's four cracks for them. I mean, wouldn't it be the craziest tournament ever if like all four of them somehow lost? That's not going to happen. But if all four of them just lost, winners round one, they all lose. We have the bottom four teams in winners round two, and two of the top four are going to be eliminated in round one. That would lead to a crazy champs.
That would
The
be
guaranteed bottom four team in finals.
yeah. That would be just insane.
I'm just looking for at least one upset in the first round. And honestly, I mean, I would assume everybody probably thinks the most likely is OpTic just because LAG has looked very good lately and OpTic obviously has looked very poor
hmm
as of late. But who knows? I kind of hope it's one of the other teams as well because that'd be a little more shocking. Like, I don't know. I still think if OpTic gets upset, I would be like surprised, even though they look so poor. It's just like I expect them to at least come to champs good enough to beat LAG.
Yeah.
So I
hmm
wouldn't, but I still wouldn't be like completely shocked if they lost just because of how they looked at like, as opposed to like if FaZe were to lose to Miami, I'd be completely shocked by that in winners round one.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, Brock, let's jump into it. We're gonna have you go first for predictions. We're doing the old, not the old way, but the way we did a couple majors ago. I just had the bracket. I'm just gonna Photoshop, copy paste the teams in. I think this looks a little bit nicer for those video listeners that are watching on YouTube, watching the bracket get filled out. I think it looks a little nicer than doing the actual CDL website um, form. Just the capture software we have for it doesn't capture it as nicely. So we're gonna do it this way. So it won't have the map counts on here, but Brock can just say the map counts and whatever. It's more for where the teams are going. So Brock, let's have you start out. It's champs predictions time. I honestly can't believe we're here though. Also, before we get started.
I know that time this year just kind of flew by.
It's like, we were having fun with the majors and everything. We had some very good majors this year, and online matches are online matches. The stages seemed a little long, and then it was like, I feel like it was just yesterday we were talking about like, man, can we just get the season here so we don't have to do this long, long off season, and the season just like teleported by, and
hmm
now here we are, and it's like, oh my god, this is the last weekend of Call of Duty until next CDL season. Although, I mean, we do have Esports World Cup saving us for an extra month.
Yeah. Yep, indeed, we do.
It's crazy time though.
hmm
Brock, let's do your predictions right away. Are you going to pick the upset? FaZe Heretics will start up in the top of winners round one.
I mean, I would pick FaZe if this was finals. I mean, I would pick it Miami if this was finals, but this is a winners round one, and FaZe is pretty damn good winners round one up until finals.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna pick FaZe 3-0. Miami just gets the ace seed straw. Unlucky.
you got the FaZe 3. Oh, interesting. You're not even going to give Miami a map here. Maybe a little jitters for FaZe.
Nah, I'm not gonna give my. I think FaZe just comes in, does what they do in round one usually.
Yeah, and I mean, FaZe outside of finals is like the safest pick of all time, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, I hope Miami just Miami bring force map 5 round one. That'd be insane.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a world where Miami wins a map, I think, but I want to say maybe not. I was gonna say like I was looking at like I don't know because like we don't whatever that like app that a lot of people bet on. I don't know if it's like just I mean like all sports betting is illegal where we are except for like Prize Picks, Underdog, those kind of things. But I was like looking at the lines on this and like pretty much all the first round series. Like I think um subliners are -1.5, ultra are -1.5, and OpTic are -1.5. -1.5 for those of you that don't bet or anything, meaning they're -1.5 maps. So essentially, if you bet OpTic Toronto or New York -1.5, they have to win 3-1 or 3-0 for your bet to hit. If the other team forces a map 5, then the bet would lose. So like you could bet LAG +1.5. So basically, all LAG has to do is force a map 5, and your bet would hit. But interestingly enough, FaZe are the one team, as the last time I saw the odds, and I think it was on DraftKings, FaZe were -2.5. So they were the one team basically like if you bet on Miami, all Miami has to do is win a map. And I feel like that's not a terrible bet to
No,
just bet on Miami to win one map. It's not the worst thing.
Miami could definitely win a search and control.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they have a better chance to win a search than anything in the series.
Yeah.
Just because I remember there's like a memory in my head right now of like the last time I remember these two teams playing, and it was like a high rise control in Miami. It was just getting slayed out, and in the hard point, kind of the same thing happened. It was just like they were getting outslayed so heavy that just sticks in my mind. I think Miami's best hope is to win a search here or something. But it's interesting that FaZe is the one team that's actually favored. The line is for them to win 3-0 as compared to the other teams are all 3-1.
Yeah, that is interesting, to say the least. I
All right,
thought
Brock.
I figured New York would be what phases for bet wise.
I think it's just because they're playing Surge, and I feel like Surge are maybe the hottest team of well, I mean LAG is pretty hot right now, but Surge have been the most consistently good for a while for the bottom four teams, and also like DraftKings, I'm sure looks into it a lot because they are sportsbook. They always know how to set these lines, but also at the same time, probably just because it's 4 seed versus 5 seed, they figured it'll be a little closer
Yeah,
since Surge are the 5 seed. I don't know.
yeah, I agreed.
But I would say though, like if it was +2.5 for Thieves, Gorillas, or Surge, I would be hammering the +2.5 for those teams. So and I'm not like completely locked in on hammering the +2.5 on Miami. So I do get where the sports book's coming from a little bit there.
Yeah,
All right, Brock, New York, Surge, an interesting matchup. I'm really excited for this one.
New York Surge, pretty good matchup. Surge, what is it? But the best team outside the top four. Subliners, just one major four. I'm gonna go with the subliners and pick 3-1. I'm not really sure which the one will come from for Surge. But
Yeah,
I do think they get one.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like Surge are a team. I heard a lot of people talking about this, but I feel like they're a team. Like if you have time to prepare for them, especially a team that's as fundamentally sound as New York is, oftentimes, and as well as like just the good coaching staff they have, just the way that Surge play, they play like so they hit everything together in hardpoint. They're always going to bash the front together. I feel like they're a team that if you prepare for them and Hook's rogue style and Surge, I feel like he's easy to pick. I don't
hmm
know. I just think that Surge are a team that if you have multiple weeks to prepare for them, like New York have, I feel like they're an easier team to pick apart. Where their play style, maybe you didn't have as much time to review VOD right before the match, their chaotic play style could maybe get to you. Like they're chaotic, just hitting everything together.
Yeah,
Um, but I feel like when you have this much time to prepare for them, it maybe makes it a little easier. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the feeling I get.
yeah, I would say so.
I'm just moving these other teams down into losers here. So your next match, Brock, you got LAT, you've got Toronto Ultra. Can LAT finally get it done on land? Do something on land.
They get to play Toronto Ultra. I do think LAT pushes this on map 5, and I think they end up losing though in the game 5, and have a lot of momentum for that losers round match against whoever it'll be, Gorillas probably, but you know how that works.
Really, you think LAT is going to force them at 5 but fall short?
Yep, I think so. Toronto might be a little slow at start. At least comes out, wins first 2, and I think they might get reverse swept.
I mean, I don't hate it. It's just like this LAT team is so weird because like at times I want to believe they're the best team of the bottom 4 that are left.
Mm-hmm.
But then at other times it's like they just disappear on land for the most part.
Yeah, it's like they're so inconsistent map to map.
And like if they were a team that like if we're talking about them just like on land alone, they probably like if this entire year was just land, they probably went to qualified for champs. Like they were horrible on land. What did they win? They got like I don't think they ever got better than a top 8.
I don't think so.
And they had some brackets set up decently for them to succeed. Like they were in winners bracket a good amount because they had very good online stages for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Except for it seems like such a distant memory that remember in the beginning of the year they were like incapable of winning a hard point.
Yeah, they were like 0 like 11, 0 12 at a
Yeah.
point at
They were
start.
like the New York Vanguard team right away with Clay and Crim. Like they just literally couldn't win a hard point.
Yeah.
Um,
Jesus.
yeah, it seems like a distant memory. But now, I mean, LAT, I want to say they have upside potential because of the way I watched them online, but like they just been so bad on land. It's just hard to have faith.
Yeah, but they did do better on land, Major 4, with no fans though.
That's true. That is true. But fans are going to be there and they're going to be loud.
Oh, they're gonna be so loud.
Although I feel like the crowd in this matchup is going to be for LAT.
Yeah, I would say so. But Toronto
And
in
it,
the end
yeah, in
wins.
general, LAT does have the bigger fan base, and also like there's going to be a lot of OpTic fans there. This is the team that OpTic would play next if they were to win. I have a feeling everybody's going to want to play LAT over Toronto.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna probably definitely need a ghosty like 1.3 in the series for them to want to win it,
Yeah, absolutely. All
and
right, Brock.
the other players will not have a stinker of a map.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be to need a ghosty masterclass, and you're gonna need the SMGs to step up. Like Joe's gonna have to step up. Krebs gonna have to step up.
Yeah.
Brock, OpTic, LAG, your boys, the LA Gorillas versus OpTic. Do you think your boys can get it done, or are you gonna have all of the top 4 advance? They're your boys, Brock. I don't know if you can pick against them.
They're my boys, ironically, and they made it to champs off
Somehow,
that off
first
that
time,
run.
first time they've really actually like qualified for champs because the one time they were there was when everybody auto qualified because of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say. And props to this LAG team. I had no faith in this team. They basically had stuck around with the same 4 throughout the whole season.
Yeah, pretty much nobody had faith in them, and they proved us all wrong.
Mm-hmm. But on that hand, I'm gonna bet OpTic figured something out with maybe accuracy or whoever is telling this camp to help them out. I'm gonna go 3-1 OpTic, and LAG. They do win the search though.
You got LAG winning the search.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I'm wrong, well, I'm happy, more happier. Trying to fill this perfect bracket here.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary for OpTic. It's where do you think it gets scary for OpTic? Like, if OpTic wins the map 1 and loses the map 2, do you think it gets scary, or do you think it's like, I mean, obviously it's scary if they lose the map 1. There's no question about that. If OpTic loses the
Yeah,
map 1 with how they've looked in search, the losing streak they're on in search, it's extremely scary. But like, do you think it's even scary if they win the map 1 and lose the map 2, or do you think it's like, when does it get scary? Does it get scary if LAG somehow hits 2 map wins because you know that there's going to be another search played if you want to win it?
I
Because
think
I
it could.
mean,
I was
I
gonna
think we automatically
say,
rule out if they lose map 1. That's obviously scary. That's a given.
yeah, I'll say if let's say OpTic kind of destroys them map 1, and then LG kind of does a search 6-2, 6-1 kind of a little bit, and then girls come out firing and control and win, then I think at
Yeah,
map 2, if they kinda get dominated that map 2, it gets scary.
it's just impossible to have faith in this OpTic team at Search right now, right? I mean,
Mhm.
on the other
Yeah.
hand, though, if you're OpTic and you win map 1 and you come out and win map 2, that could be like a confidence setter that could lead to a crazy run happening for them because, like, as bad as OpTic has looked, when you have a team with this much talent and this much time to prepare, like they had a couple weeks to prepare for champs, maybe figure things out, like the vibes from the team sound like they're okay from like the videos that OpTic released, like interviewing each player with Scump interviewing them. The vibes sound like they're okay.
Mhm.
Um, and like the recent one with Kenny and Dashy, more talking about like what the camp looks like after these recent losses. Sounds like they're okay, but also like if a team like that, like you've heard it so many times from pro players, like even if your team is playing poorly, like all it takes is that one weekend where you get hot on a couple maps and like a map that's your auto veto all of a sudden becomes one of your picks because you just like all of a sudden got hot on it on a weekend.
Mhm. Yeah.
Heard it plenty of times, so who knows from OpTic.
Yeah. But at the point, I like for being a fan of OpTic, I kind of almost want OpTic to go a game 5 and win the game 5 and have all that momentum. I feel like.
That is true. I didn't really think of it that way, but you're not wrong. Like, if you're a fan of OpTic, that probably, as long as they win the game 5, that's probably the best case scenario is like for them to get confidence to win a map
Mhm.
5 and like see that under their belt. And LAG, are they the best team? No, but they are a good search team. So like beating them in search is a tough thing to do. Or
Mhm.
like I guess maybe even from that standpoint, like if you're OpTic, would it be kind of nice to like win it through like maybe not a NYSL, but just like winning a hard point in 2 searches? Like that would be an interesting way.
Yeah.
Or like maybe being down to one of the series, winning hard point search. Now, obviously, we're not dumb. We know you don't want to just like get down 2-1 just to build momentum. Like you want to win the series any way you can.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
if OpTic do go to a map 5 and they end up winning it, it could be a blessing in disguise that they went to a map 5. They were tested early. They were able to win a clutch search to destroy. Maybe build their confidence back up.
Yeah. That definitely will.
I like it. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I guess I feel like after the map 1, we'll know a lot. Like if OpTic comes out, we'll be able to kind of tell what they're on and how they're looking, and then really the map 2 says it all because like even if they come out map 1 and they're firing all cylinders and they dominate them 250 to 100, I'm still going to be like, okay, but what happens in the search? Like, do you carry the momentum to the search? Do you win it, or do you just revert to the OpTic we've seen over the past entire stage where you just can't win a search?
Yeah.
All right, Brock, let's move down to the losers bracket. 2 teams are getting eliminated here for you. Is it Miami or is it Surge in the first one?
Oh man. I don't these 2 teams. It's gonna go game 5. Guarantee that.
Okay.
And Surge, they clutch it out. I think I just like the Surge team a little bit more than Miami Heretics.
I know this is like a weird matchup because I truly do see a world where like both of these teams make it through. Like it feels like a weird team because I think both of them are probably the 2 best losers bracket teams right now. I don't know. You can make a debate. It is really tough because of how hot LAG is and how consistently good LAT's been online. It's tough, but like these are 2 teams that I very much feel like could beat each other. So I really feel like I could screw up my bracket pretty quickly by picking
Mhm.
against one of these 2 teams. But yeah, I don't hate the search pick. I do probably favor them in search.
Yeah. So
Um,
3-2 Surge for me.
All right, Brock. Then it's the Battle of LA. This is a cursed matchup for LAT. You're either going to have to play OpTic or LAG if they do end up losing to Toronto in winners round 1. And it's the Battle of LA, which, as we always say, is really not much of a battle because LAG owns that matchup.
Yeah. Uh, I'm gonna go with my boys. 3-1 LAT. Cannot get over that hump of
That's
being
crazy.
LAG.
That would be a crazy outcome, Brock.
It would be LAT bows out. Top 8.
That would be an absolutely crazy outcome if LAT, once again, after all this time, they get another dead last on land. I mean, the road's tough for them. They have to play Toronto, and if they win, they're gonna have to play probably OpTic. But if not, they have to play LAG, who is like owns them. If they drop down to losers bracket, they likely play LAG, who owns them. Or if not, once again, they play OpTic. Like this is a brutal turn of events for LAT. I mean, the best they can hope for is like they play OpTic, and whether it's losers or winners, and it's the OpTic that hasn't hit form at all. That's like their best hope because even no matter how bad LAG is in history against this LAT team, no matter what game it is, they own them. So
Yeah. For whatever reason, even if their team is worse, they still own them.
yeah, it's very, very, very odd. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, it really is odd because LAT's been their team has been so much like mostly so much better throughout
But
the
yes,
years.
since they come around in Cold War, like their Cold War team wasn't great, but the LAG team was really bad. Um, and then you go into Vanguard, and the LAT team won champs, and LAG was horrible again.
Hmm.
Going to MW2, LAG was horrible, and the LAT team were they like fantastic? No, but they were the defending champs. They did win an event. Like they were a good team.
Yeah.
Really, after Cold War, they weren't horrible. They were just they were a mid team, and then after that, they've been a top team. I mean, they've won an event in like every year since, and won champs in one of them. Yeah, it's odd.
Yep.
All right, Brock, let's move on up to winners bracket. FaZe versus Subliners, rematch
Oh,
of the last finals where Subliners was able to get it done. Who you got here? It's tough. The top four matchups up here are tough. They make for a tough bracket.
yeah. These are just like who is gonna win, I don't know, who clutches up more.
Yeah, and honestly, these are like any given day with these teams playing each other.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 3-2 phase. They clutch up game 5.
You think
And
the FaZe continues the trend of just being dominant before finals?
yep, I think so.
All right. I mean, I don't want to give away too much before I make my predictions. But I don't hate that. Uh, it's just
I'm
tough because like as history tells us, obviously, you've been watching for a while. As history tells us, the team that wins the event right before champs, they tend to do very well.
yep.
Uh, at the next event, they tend to do very well. Although subliners have two different like COD history things working with them, Brock, as you also know. They are the team that won the last event. So that bodes extremely well for them. Usually that team does extremely well. They usually at least make it to finals. Sometimes obviously they don't, but for the most part, they at least make it to finals. The other thing that's working against them, Brock, is no team has ever gone back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, technically, do they fit under that bill? No, because they did make a roster change, but it pretty much applies since they have three of the four players and are under the same org.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest we've ever seen that I can remember is obviously the BO3 to IW. NV won it all in BO3, and then they were in finals from the winners bracket against OpTic and ended up losing two best of fives.
Yep. So close.
All right, Brock. Ultra versus OpTic. Can OpTic get over the hump? Can they put it all together? Do you think these couple weeks have been big for them, or is Ultra just gonna roll over?
Hmm. It's only this is going game 5, and I just think in the end, Optic might revert back to their old ways of surge against the Toronto Ultra team, and they lose 3-2, sending
Okay.
Optic into losers.
He's setting up for that Draza versus Scrap winners final. Whoever wins that, Brock, if this scenario happens, they're going to be talking crazy.
Yep. And usually, I'm pretty sure that Scrap is dominant on land against Straza for the most part.
Yeah, what is it like going into the last major that he had like only lost to him once? It was like 1-7 or something. Like he dominated him on land. I forget the exact numbers, but Scrap dominates the matchup on land
Yeah.
all time between the two of them. Um, but maybe Scrap won't talk crazy because he talked crazy after winners final of last champs, and we witnessed that it turned into the worst finals of all time because he got tucked. His entire team got tucked.
Yeah, they got super ultra mega tucked.
Yeah,
It
it wasn't. It was the worst series I've like maybe ever watched.
was like a 45-minute 5 map series.
It was and now there is as much people maybe don't want to believe it. There is a such thing as a good sweep, like an entertaining sweep.
Hmm.
There is a such thing as a good 4-0, a good 5-0, a good 3-0, whatever it is. When the maps are 250 to 240, a 6-5, a 3-2 in the control, like another close hard point. Like there's a such thing. Don't get me wrong, as a good best of or a good sweep in any best of five, best of seven, best of nine. But that was not a good sweep. It was just absolutely dominant. Every map was just, it ended up being boring because, like, we're there to just watch a great match. Just like in the Super Bowl. Like, if your team isn't in it, you're just like hoping for a great game down to the fourth quarter, tight game. Um, but I mean, that match was just horrible.
Yep. Hoping for better this year.
Yeah. And Brock, who do you think is going to be the first team to join that final? We'll just go ahead and put one of your teams in the final right away. Atlanta FaZe versus Toronto Ultra, winners final. Who you got?
I have FaZe winning a game 5 against Toronto Ultra, and I think Drow's is gonna talk so much shit after that.
Oh my god, Brock, you are just like you're like scaring the FaZe fans so much right now.
Yeah, it's like PTSD for them going to winners finals.
Just rolling through like all the way to finals, and you're just feeling great, and you know what's coming potentially.
Yep.
It's a it's a nightmare for FaZe fans to see that. As weird as it sounds, it's like maybe they just need to do it through losers bracket or something because what they've been doing through winners isn't working.
hmm
Um, all right, Brock, that puts us back down to the losers bracket. Surge versus OpTic. Loser goes home top 6. Winner makes it into the top 4. You think OpTic is able to get it done? Join their place in the top 4 where they've been pretty much all the year, or is Surge going to get it done? This run for OpTic is like, man, if this is how it works out, because like play LAG, a good search team, play Toronto, who can be a very good search team, you play Surge, who's a good search team, like it's a little bit rough for OpTic here in terms of just the teams they play and them being just so good at search and destroy.
Yeah. I'm going Optic here. I'm picking up in a 3-1. Do not get to that game 5 for now.
Yeah, it's just tough. Like it's hard to have a lot of faith in this OpTic team when you're saying every time it's like, yikes, if they get to a game 5, can we trust them? Like it's champs time. You got to be able to trust the team in a game 5 if they're going to win it all.
Yeah.
And like
hmm
technically, could you win without going game 5? Sure, but you got to believe at some point, especially with how good, like if you're OpTic, with how good teams like Toronto, FaZe, and New York are, you got to believe at some point somebody's going to force you to do a map 5, especially with the way OpTics look lately. Obviously,
Yeah. And I also think just throughout Optic playing these matches, that Kenny it will be the best player.
think so. Like overall, in their team throughout champs.
I think so.
I guess. What do you mean by best player? Like you think because I highly doubt he's going to have the best statistics just because of, like I'm assuming Pred or Shottzy's KD, even Dashy, just the way they play is going to look better. You just think like I test watching the maps impact he's having. You think Dashy's going to be their best player in that regard? Because I guess like there are some people like even if Kenny is I test the best player, if Kenny's only dropping a 1.02 or something, and you got Pred at a 1.1 and Shotzzy to 1.1, but like I guess do you mean more impact or you think actually like numbers wise he's going to look like the best player?
Um, maybe not so numbers wise because they have the LR3 uh, for the 2 SMGs gonna go off usually. I think more like the eye test and the impact plays and him just clutching like these situations in search and like get hidden rotations and
Just
stuff
making
like
game
that.
winning plays, kind of.
Yeah, game winning plays.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, Brock. Subliners LAG. Your boys going to get sent home packing top 6. Do you think they're going to pull off an upset on the major 4 champs and the defending champs?
Uh, Gorillas. I think they lose 3-0.
You think they get just swept out of the tournament?
Yeah, for whatever reason,
Honestly, what
I,
were you going
for
to say?
for whatever reason, like the top 4 teams this year, like besides like not counting FaZe, like New York kind of just rolls all like the teams that are so called like outside top 4 for the most
Yeah,
part.
they did. And then they also had some weird losses though. Remember there was that stage where they had like a couple losses in a row to bottom 8 teams?
Yeah,
I think it was stage 3.
I do, but they did one last tournament. I think Kismet and Crew and Hydra, they're all clicking.
Yeah, I don't know because like they did have stages definitely where they lost to teams outside the top 4 because they were the one team that was losing to them at the time.
hmm
Whereas like there was a stretch there where FaZe and OpTic just literally were not losing to any of them until FaZe lost to like LAG in that one random match.
Yeah,
Um, but I agree with you. It's hard to imagine a world where Gorillas win. But honestly, if Gorillas get top 6 here, they don't get dead last at champs. It's a pretty respectable year. I mean, they got top 6 like damn near every tournament. They qualified for champs as the 6th seed when
hmm
nobody even expected them to come close to the 8th seed at the beginning of the year. It's
yeah,
honestly a pretty damn typical year out of the Gorillas if they. I mean, obviously, top 6 at champs doesn't mean nearly what it used to. Like a top 6 at champs pre CDL was a big accomplishment, especially if you were a team like LAG who was not like a top tier team. Like there was 32 teams to start champs. So if you got a top 6, like damn, that's a good accomplishment. Obviously now like even top 8, like if you were an AM team or something that made it to champs and you made a top 8 run, it was like damn, like we made a name for ourselves. We're we're gonna be able to potentially get in a decent pro team next year. Now, I mean, obviously top eight's dead last. It's just so weird how that's changed.
Yeah, we need that expansion soon.
It's also weird, bro, because I saw like an actual discussion about this, and it was like crazy to read. Like, I don't blame. I forget who it was, who I saw it from on Twitter, but it was in like a COD thread, and I don't blame the person at all who was saying this because yeah, I mean, I don't want to criticize somebody for being a new viewer. Like,
Yeah.
I do think it's weird when people are like, well, like you don't know what you're talking about because like you didn't watch this. It's like, well, we don't want to gatekeep new viewers from the community. Like if maybe somebody just discovered competitive COD and MW2 last year or something and they became a fan. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
But like they like see that somebody got a top 8 at champs like way back, like a random like I forget who it was, like the T1 Daughters team and like Ghost or AW or whatever, or like the Australian team with Dens or whoever was on it, where like Australian teams had never done anything and they got like a top 4 or something. And like the person was like, well, a top 4 or whatever they were referencing, top 4 or top 6 isn't really that good at champs. And
Yeah.
it was like, it's crazy to think about that. Like there are people out there that like their whole lens is like, well, like top 6 at champs isn't that good because you only won one match. And it's like, well, that's not true because top 6 back in the day, like you had to make it out of your pools and then win 3, 4 matches just to get to top 6.
Yeah. The
Like top 6
gauntlet.
was a big accomplishment back in the day.
Hmm.
Like remember E6 and Black Ops 4 making it all the way to top 4 was like, damn, that was a hell of an accomplishment because they were not expected to even potentially make it out of their group.
Yeah. That was a shocking one.
Or like Singularity, the CleanX Insight team before they were even known who they were. They made it to
Hmm.
like top 12 or something in that tournament, which like top 12, like that sounds like it sucks, but hey, when you were an AM team finishing ahead of 20 other teams that were there, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. All right, enough tangents on the old CODs that we love. OpTic versus Subliners, Brock. The defending Major 4 champs, the defending world champs versus OpTic. I mean, you're putting a lot of faith in OpTic if you haven't gone to top 3 here just based on how they've looked.
I do. And I think this is where OpTic road closes and Subliners went 3-1.
I don't hate it. Sib knocks OpTic out of champs back-to-back years, Brock. He
I think
1v3'd him.
so.
1v3'd him last year, and obviously in this case he would knock him out again.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Sky is probably gonna drop like 1.5 because that's kind of what he does in these moments half the time.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems to play very well against OpTic, especially going back to his Florida Mutineers days.
Yeah, it's like oh, I just remember those days on him on Florida. If he dropping like 0.8, play OpTic 1.3 instantly.
Yeah, him and Big Wake and whoever, they would just go crazy when they played OpTic. It was kind of funny. They just like they always seemed to match up. They'd match up winners round 1 and they'd take OpTic out. And it was like, damn, OpTic always looks so good and they beat everybody. And then they just play Florida and they just forget how to play. It's funny.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Brock. Toronto versus Subliners. Who is joining FaZe in our grand final?
Uh, I think the Subliners pull game 5 out. Not sure if it's round 11, maybe a 6-2, 6-3 on Toronto Ultra, and they go to finals and through kind of like the loser bracket for the most part.
All right, and Brock, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not liking the way your bracket's looking right now because it's potentially looking very similar to how I think my bracket might look. And
Is it?
I don't love that because I'm honestly like thinking about potentially making some stupid picks because I don't know who you're gonna pick to win, but there's a decent chance that this bracket you just picked right here is exactly what I'm gonna pick. So I
Hmm.
might have to make a stupid pick and switch it up just for the fun of it because I mean we'll see who you pick to win, but you might have picked my bracket. Um,
That'd be funny if I actually did.
Yeah. So you got FaZe, you got Subliners. I'm curious to see who you have winning. I obviously don't want to reveal who I have winning. Maybe it's not one of these teams. Maybe I'm just bluffing, but I'm not going to lie. Your bracket is looking pretty damn similar to what I had in mind.
I have Subliners winning through the loser bracket in a 4-2 fashion, and they go back to back with basically the same players besides one one player, and FaZe goes. I was like just can't win the finals. So good up until the finals, and at some point, I feel like if they, I don't know, you have to kind of split up someone from the trio in a certain way. But like they're so good, I don't know.
It just makes no sense to split them up though, because it's like the argument that you make is like, yeah, you can't win a finals, but it's like how many teams get to every damn finals? It's like
Yeah,
it's one of those like
it's so
grass isn't always
different.
greener things, I think.
Yeah,
Like you think the grass is greener, it's like, man, we make every finals. What if we could win every finals? But it's like, you know how hard it is to make every finals, and you guys already do that.
yeah. Or maybe I should say maybe that they don't change, but maybe someone ends up leaving
Yeah, maybe
outside.
I think they're all under team control though. Because
Like
like
there,
Ben posted that document again about like free agents, and an interesting one to note was Dashy is a free agent at the end of this year.
I did see that.
Dashy and Selly have always wanted to play together, and Formal wants to come back. That's all I'm saying.
I did see Foreman wants to come back. Maybe Scump comes back now too.
That'd be funny. The Because you know how Optic works. There's a chance Formal, I'm not saying it's the right change, but with the way Optic works, they might love the content of Formal coming back into the team. Um,
Hmm.
All I'm gonna say is Dashy and Cell have always talked about how they want to play together so much. Dashy wants to be on Optic for life. I understand that, but if there's a way where Formal's actually serious and he wants to come back, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not saying it's the right move. Once again, don't say faded, faded, faded. I'm not saying it's the right move, but you can't say you would be shocked if Optic was like, we're bringing Formal back for the storyline, and then that would leave Dashy as the odd man out. Most likely, they keep the other three. And the whole draws a relationship with the outside the game stuff. Maybe FaZe doesn't want that, especially if they lose jams. They've always wanted to
Hmm.
play with Ashy. I know that would make Stallion play a flex again. The roles maybe don't work, but those players have always wanted to play together, and the eye talent or the just mechanical skill, the raw talent just pops off the page. A Dashy, Stallion, Mabizi, Simp roster. Obviously, I know maybe the roles don't fit the best, but you never know. You could see him doing it. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, I think there's literally zero chance Scump's ever coming back. He's married now. He's like, I'm not taking all the time to do this. I think Scump has realized how nice his life is, just chilling, watch party, not the
Yeah,
stress of all the competing. He's married. I think he's ready to chill.
yeah. Fortunately, we would love to have Scump back, but
Yeah. But I
that
also
is,
enjoy the watch party, so it's not the end of the world.
yeah, agreed.
All right,
Yeah.
Brock, I'm going to clear your bracket out, take a screenshot, roast Brock on his bracket. Maybe don't roast him too hard because he honestly might have picked my exact bracket. I can't lie.
Oh, it's been too hard. I don't know if I'll get it right or not, but
Brock, I'm not even kidding. I think you picked my bracket.
did
Unless I'm like missing something, like maybe one of the early matches, you picked exactly what I was gonna pick.
I?
So I'm kind of sitting here thinking I may just have to switch it up for fun because it's not fun for us to both pick the same bracket. So I'm gonna go out on the record and say Brock's bracket's what I want to pick. I might make like one change here. I'm gonna make one change based on something else I thought about doing, but I'm gonna say Brock. Yeah, I just looked at it. The one I was gonna save. Yeah, that's you picked. Maybe not map counts, but you picked the teams that was gonna pick exactly to a T. That was the exact bracket I had.
That's actually super funny.
I don't think it's like crazy because like picking the top four in winners round one obviously isn't like super surprising, but the fact that having like New York go on a run like that through losers for that long, having FaZe be the team that makes it out, um, just interesting. But I'm gonna switch it up.
I like it. See who you choose. I pick out the top four teams to lose now.
If I was picking how I want the tournament to work, I'd do that.
Yeah, same.
But I'm gonna pencil in FaZe here. I think FaZe are gonna run through. I do think Miami's gonna take a map. I don't know what map it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a hard point. I think they're gonna lose map 1 and 4. So I think Miami's gonna take map 2 or 3. I'm gonna say FaZe 3-1.
You like it?
Sending Miami down to losers. Sorry, I got to do both at one time. Sending the teams down here. Um, Miami down to losers. New York versus Surge. Like I said, I just feel like I don't know if you agree, but I feel like the Surge are one of those teams that if you get a lot of time to prepare for them, I think it's decently easy to prepare. And maybe I don't know. They got Rambo at the coach. They have a veteran player in Huke, although I don't know that he's much of the strategy in game leader type. Seems like he kind of just goes and does his thing. As much as people might not know it, Brezzy is a big time veteran. I mean, we were talking about that E6 team that finished top four at Champs at Black Ops 4. Brezzy was on that team a number of years ago.
Yep.
And has always been a very good player. He's a veteran player. I just think subliners are going to get this one done 3-1, 3-0, something like that. I just don't see a world where Seattle Surge are able to compete on this one.
Like it.
I just think, the structure and good coaching of the subliners as opposed to, the kind of one dimensional play style of Surge. I think it's like the worst matchup for Surge.
Yeah.
I just do not like that matchup at all for them. Then we got Ultra versus Thieves. I mean, Brock, you kind of mentioned it. Like I said, I pretty much picked your bracket, so I'm going to go through mine faster so we can talk about kind of win conditions, loss conditions. You already kind of touched on it, though. It's hard to trust Thieves online. Oops, I put Surge in the wrong spot here. I accidentally put them in the winner's spot from Thieves and Ultra. They are not in winner's bracket anymore. Sorry about that. Surge throwing them down in losers bracket. But like you touched on, it's hard to trust LAT on land. Like they have shown us nothing in 4 majors to lead us to believe that they have what it takes to get done on land.
Yeah. They do
That
not.
that reason, I'm moving Toronto Ultra on. I think that this one's like oddly going to go game 5 though.
Yeah. I like these. They're not bad. They force maps, go game 5, but just can't win.
And I feel like in respawns they're going to be able to shoot with them, but I don't think they're going to get it done. Then it's OpTic LAG, the scariest one of the top in my opinion still. In a normal world, I think OpTic easily win this one 3-0, 3-1, but it's not a normal world. OpTic is currently struggling. I do have faith and blind love in Kenny to get this done. I agree. I think Kenny's going to play really well. I think he's going to bounce back. I think Pred's going to bounce back as well. They just have to. Like, your back's against the wall as a competitor. This is time to show what you've got, your competitive grit, your will. Like, you've got to figure it out. Like, it's not like they were a team that's just been like bad all year. Like, they were pretty good for the most part. They basically dominated every team that wasn't phased for quite some time there post major one. Like, 2 straight majors, they were so good against everybody that wasn't phased. And they got over the phase hump and were able to win major 3. And it seemed like they were going to roll on and potentially be our best team. And then they just fell off the face of the earth in major 4.
Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, just happens.
It's just so weird, though.
Yeah, the fall off was like within less than a month.
It still just makes no sense to me, but I'm going to have OpTic moving on. I think weirdly enough, they're going to come out and I think they're going to win 3-0. I just think they're going to come out. I think they're going to dominate the hard point and the control. And I think they're going to win like a 6-4 search. I think they're going to be down like 4-3 in the search and rattle off 3 straight rounds. And it's going to be like a huge momentum builder. And they're going to use that, dominate the control, win 3-0. And it's like, okay, here we go. OpTic's back. Can they make the run now?
I like it.
That drops LAG down into the losers bracket to meet a team that they, I'm sure, are grinning ear to ear to play, and that's LAT. But first, Brock, Miami versus Seattle Surge. I'm not ready to switch it up here from what you did. I still lean Surge as much as like this matchup is so weird to me. This is just an absolute toss up, Brock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just like, what can you like? I don't. Ugh, I just don't know. What can you say? Like, Surge, they seem like they should be the better Surge team, but like I think both of them can play kind of chaotic in Surge, and I don't know where to go. Like, I don't necessarily love either of them in respawn, but they both have players that are so like hit or miss. Like, Huke might go 40 and 30 on a Rio and dominate for them, or he might have an absolute stinker and cost them a series. I just don't know where to lean. I think I'm leaning Surge.
I like it.
Not
Pretty
ready to switch off from
easily.
where you went.
I like it.
So I'm putting Surge there. Then it's LAT and it's LAG. Brock, I'm going with your boys. LAG.
No shock there. LAT somehow cannot win.
I in LA, I know. I just like know as I put this in that LAT is going to win it. Like, because I constantly pick against LAG in this matchup for years. Because LAT always when they play is the better team, and I just constantly pick LAT, 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 and I'm just done. I just don't want to be on the wrong side of it, so I'm picking LAG to win in a game 5. But I'm done picking LAT. Even if they win, I just am like, whatever. LAG dominates you. It's just impossible to pick you. So I'm taking LAG to beat them. And also, LAG has looked good lately, so it's not just like a complete blind pick.
Yeah.
Back up into the winners bracket. FaZe versus Subliners. Brock, I'm kicking it the same way you did. I think FaZe are going to take out Subliners here.
FaZe pretty damn good up until when then the finals.
Yeah, I think they're going to do the same thing they always do. I think they're going to just make that run easily. Although I will say the last year was like the first time we saw them at champs. They got knocked out um, by Toronto, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In winners round two, because the winners final was obviously New York versus Ultra, and then New York went down and beat FaZe in losers final for them to like not make. That was the first time SipItBZ didn't make finals. Um, but New York FaZe, I got FaZe. I think they're gonna win it in a map 5. I think they're gonna clutch up in search. FaZe did have that like struggle point of search and destroy in major 3, but Draza, Simp, BZ, Salyab, these are players I trust in search and destroy when it all comes down to it, no matter how much they potentially have struggled at some point in the recent past. But
Hmm.
Subliners is still a team to watch out for in losers bracket for sure. I mean, they proved that last weekend.
Hmm.
Or not last weekend, last major, I should say. Um, that drops them down to play LAG, and then Brock. This is where I'm switching it up. I'm gonna say OpTic's gonna take out
Ooh.
Ultra. I think they're gonna get in form. Those of you watching, you're gonna say that's a stupid faded pick. I agree, but I gotta switch it up because I'm not gonna pick the same bracket as Brock.
Unironically.
Yeah, I picked the same bracket as you. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm switching my bracket. I'm putting OpTic in the winners final. I do think it's possible they do that. Like I'm not just like picking this and thinking there's no chance.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just, like you said,
It's
any
champs
given
time.
day.
Any given day, it's champs time. This team has a lot of talent. They're not just sitting on their thumbs and not trying. Like they're trying to figure this out. I trust guys like Kenny, veteran player Kenny. Shottzy's a smart player, world champ. As much as people like to bash him, Dashi is a smart player who does work hard. Like I think there's a good possibility that this team finds form. I'm picking them to make winners finals. For the record, I originally did have Toronto winning this, but like I said, Brock picked the same bracket as me. I got to switch it up.
I like it. I like
Uh,
that pick.
OpTic playing FaZe in winners finals. And I'm not going to lie, Brock, as a spectator there, I really hope that happens personally because an OpTic FaZe winners final at champs at an OpTic, like air quotes, home event, 5,000 plus in the venue, the whole 360. I could just OpTic FaZe final or winners final would be ideal. I'm not going to lie. Going into the weekend, that's probably what I'm cheering for the grand final.
Hmm.
I want
Oh
to show
yeah.
up on Sunday and watch OpTic versus FaZe, a classic. Probably two biggest fan bases in the league, two very good teams. Like that's what I want to see. Because, I mean, whether you're an OpTic fan or not, I think honestly, like your dream final, if you're a fan of any of these 8 teams, is your team playing OpTic because you get the best of both worlds. You get your team playing in the final, and you get the OpTic like environment because whether you're an OpTic fan or not, like everybody knows the venue is more alive and more electric when OpTic's playing, just because they have the biggest fan base.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if you're a fan of any team, like Brock, you as an LAG fan, you'd be hoping for an LAG OpTic final.
Oh yeah, LG's gonna
It's
win
a
that though.
it's a very weird way to get there because obviously one of them would have to run all the way from losers to
Yeah.
play for the first round. But would you agree with that? Like, if you're a fan of any other team that's not OpTic, you're hoping they play OpTic in the finals. Just, I mean, obviously, I guess technically, if you want to say like you may be hoping they play the worst team possible so they can win. But like in terms of atmosphere wise, you
Oh
want them to
yeah.
play OpTic because it makes it the most fun.
100%. OpTic. The crowd just so electric for OpTic.
Yeah.
Because like you said, have the biggest fan base.
Yeah, it's just the venue has a different buzz, and like we've said it, we've been to plenty of events. The only time the venue ever had a buzz, it was also an OpTic match, but it was that Minnesota crowd against OpTic in Vanguard Major Two.
I know that was. I never heard so many boos for OpTic.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Brock, as we're talking here, I'm moving Toronto Ultra into the top 4. I think they're going to take out Seattle Surge. I think they're going to roll Seattle Surge. I think they're going to win it like a 3-0 most likely. If not, like maybe Surge takes the search only and Ultra rolls them in the respawns. I think Ultra's going to make it to top 4 there.
Yep.
And I think the same thing's going to happen in the other matchup. I think Subliners are probably going to roll LAG, unfortunately for you, Brock.
Yeah, but I mean that's good. That's good placing for LAG because for
Yep.
the year.
Yep. Top 6. That's like their spot this year. That has me putting Subliners, Brock, and I ended up with the same top 4 you did, the actual top 4. But I will say it's time for me to do my every time we do a predictions little announcement, and Brock knows what I'm going to say. How often, Brock, does it ever end up that the 4 teams that are the best in the world at the time end up as the top 4? Not very often.
Not very likely usually.
Although this year more than ever it has. I mean, I guess really it happened in 2 of the 4 tournaments where the top 4 teams were obviously New York finished top 12, major 1, and then the last major OpTic finished top 12. Um, so I mean, it doesn't happen maybe as often. Like it still happened 2 out of 4 tournaments, 50% of the time this year, where the top 4 were the top 4 teams, but it does not happen too often, especially at champs, where like the 4 teams who are the clear favorites going in end up as the top 4. Doesn't happen super often, so there's a very good chance that some other team sneaks into the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, subliners, Ultra Brock. I'm kind of sticking with your theme, although you had Ultra getting to top 3. I have them bowing out in 4th place. I just think subliners have their number in these big moments. For whatever reason, Brock, eh, you can maybe say like you think differently something, but for whatever reason, the subliners team, when it comes down to these big moments, these last 2 years, like as it comes down to the end of the year, I just trust this team to clutch out more than most.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. They've been pretty dang clutch.
Yeah, you just trust them. I don't. It's just like it's kind of a indescribable thing. Like there's just something about them. Like they obviously they were able to win it last year, and like Kismet kind of just like willed it. He was like, we got destroyed in the winners finals, and like I heard Scrappy talking that, and like
Mm-hmm.
I was not losing, and they just have that will, and they're a very good structured team. And when their structure meets with their talent, they're a very hard team to beat.
Yep.
Then Brock in the winners final, I have FaZe taking down OpTic 3-1.
Ooh.
And that puts FaZe in the grand final where they so often find themselves. They found themselves there pretty much every tournament ever with Simp and Abizi except one champs.
Yep.
And I've got OpTic dropping down to face New York in the losers final. And I think OpTic's run ends there, Brock.
I mean, pretty good for them since they, had a top 12 last tournament.
I would say pretty good, like in comparison to obviously where they were last tournament, but it's going to be considered a failure in the eyes of the Green Wall and in the eyes of the players in OpTic. I mean, I think any team that's in the top 4, if they don't win champs, it's a complete failure.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, outside the top 4, like, is it technically a failure if you don't win champs? Obviously, yes. Like, that's your ultimate goal, but like, it's very different. Like, the standard for LAG as compared to FaZe. Like, if FaZe were to finish, you know, 4th, it'd be like, oh my god, what a colossal failure! Like, this team is built to win champs. If LAG were to finish 4th, it'd be like, yeah, you didn't hit your goal of winning champs, but like, that's a damn good placing for where we expected you to be. It's different standards for the teams.
Yep. Yep.
Obviously, they all want to win. I'm not saying that, but Brock, this leaves me with the same finals as you had. FaZe subliners. I think it will lead to a very entertaining finals. I think if this is the finals, I don't really see a way where either team gets dominated like last year. I think this one is going to a second to last or a last map. And Brock, I've got the same champion.
The subliners.
I think I'm not kidding. I had the same bracket as you. I couldn't switch out my champion. That'd be a little bit weird.
Yeah. That's
But
I
the New York
just
subliners winning
it's
it.
crazy.
It's crazy. I didn't think post Major 3. I thought there was no world where we were picking subliners to win champs. I thought it was OpTic, FaZe, or Toronto's tournament to lose.
Mm-hmm. Here they are. Subliners are in form again, and Kismet and crew are dominating.
And I mean, if this is the way it happens, also like if this how the bracket shakes out and subliners do win it this way, this would be a hell of a tippable event from them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they beat Surge, lose to FaZe, they beat LAG, then they have to beat Toronto and OpTic en route to beating FaZe. They have to beat all 3 of the other top 4 teams, as well as beating a good Surge and a good LAG team along the way, and doing it from losers round 2.
Yeah. Yeah. What a way to get that back to back for the first time for a
Certainly would
champion.
be a. I mean, obviously all rings are earned, but certainly would be a very well earned ring.
Yeah. Mm.
All right, Brock. We're at the 50-minute mark. Normally we'd wrap up, but it's the last episode where we have a tournament to talk about for the year. Until obviously, I mean, we still have the Esports World Cup. But first, before we jump into this, obviously, a big thank you to you all for supporting.
Mm-hmm.
If you got to this point, it's been another good year in the books. Um, a year, we crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark. A little ways back, up to almost the 1,400 mark. You guys have been supporting like crazy. We were invited to do some community awards with Mr. Jake Maverick. Had a lot of opportunities. Some potential off-season collabs coming. Maybe doing some drafts, fantasy drafts with other creators, stuff like that in the off-season where we're all just searching for content to do. It's exciting times. It's been a very good year, and we look forward to. I mean, having the whole off-season, having the Esports World Cup talk, having next year's talk. But yeah, shout out to all of you that listen, subscribe, comment. We especially love all the comments because just engaging with a community, and seeing like one of my favorite things to do is like obviously a new comment is great, but seeing like familiar faces pop in and I'll give their thoughts on this. Like we have like our OG like constant commenter was Kyle, and then obviously Kyle ended up joining the podcast for quite some time, and I'm sure we'll have him back on this offseason to catch up with him,
Hmm.
give you guys an update at where he's at. But we got like our boy PD, Mr. PD Gaming. Check out his channel if you haven't. If you're a Pokemon fan, he makes some Pokemon anime reviews. Um, he's always commenting, always giving his thoughts. We appreciate him always. Just all kinds of commenters are always commenting. Whether it's just like a simple like love the podcast or like oh you guys said this, I disagree with it here. It's like the debates are fun, just the praise is fun, the criticism, all of it. We enjoy it all. So yeah, shout out to another good year as it comes to a wrap. And then before we jump into this little next segment too, want to remind you also the podcast will be delayed next week because Brock and I, what we do for champs, we usually fly out like a day or two early and then we stay like an extra day or two after because as much as we love being at champs all day, we also like exploring the city we go to a little bit. Like
Yep.
last year with Vegas, stayed a couple extra days. This year we'll be staying a couple extra days. And we're not flying home, so the podcast will be out later in the week next week, not the normal Monday, because we will still be in Dallas, unable to record.
Yep. Should be fun champs for sure.
All right, Brock, let's do this last little segment though. Just really quickly, each of us, I want to run down the 8 teams, kind of like a if this team were to win, this is why I think they probably were able to do it. And if they were to lose, this is probably the reason. Obviously, it could kind of be the same thing. Gonna try to make them different, but starting, we'll just go top down from the bracket. So starting with FaZe, for me, if they're able to win, I think it's just through the fact that they dominate. For this is a team I'm going to say the same thing back and forth for win and lose, just because I mean it's FaZe. It's hard to imagine a world where they struggle in anything too badly, but for me, I think it all comes down to search or destroy. That's the win and loss condition for them. I think if FaZe dominates search, they're so talented that I feel like they're going to be able to win at least 50% of their respawns always.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like if this team can round it out in search and like be a dominant search team, that's their win condition. Like if they're dominant in search, I don't see a way anybody beats them because they're always like it's going to be pretty impossible to beat FaZe in 3 respawns. Like you're
Yeah.
just not going to be able to do that. I mean, maybe there's a team that beats them in 3 respawns in a series, but like it's pretty hard to be able to beat FaZe in 3 respawns no matter who you are. So like I feel like if FaZe's search rounds out and they could be like a 60+% win percentage team, I just don't think there's a way to beat them because there's no way they're going to drop 3 respawns in a series.
Hmm.
And obviously
Yeah.
for me, the loss condition for them is if they really do struggle in search and destroy, it's going to be tough because like teams are going to pick apart that and like they're going to realize like that's always the way to beat FaZe is by winning the searches and trying to steal a respawn. So they've got to come correct in that search and destroy.
Hmm. I kind of have like the same idea for the most part. I just feel like the win condition for them is more so. I mean, we know Simp's gonna play good and Draza is gonna play good. More so like a Beezy because he tends to have his off games, and if he does
Which is
have
weird
off,
because he never used to in previous titles, but
yeah, previous titles like he would always not have a bad game. But the last couple of years he's been having these off games, which is making them lose some more maps that they should be winning.
yeah, I mean, even like I remember last year they had like a really weird stretch where they like struggled in hardpoint for a little bit, and it's like, how is this team struggling in hardpoint? Just look at the names.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, I agree with that. FaZe, it's harder to find like win and loss conditions for them because just like they're just so good. It's hard to imagine a world where they really struggle too badly with anything.
Yeah, they're just like you said, too good to be win loss. That's to a
Yeah.
certain point.
And it's kind of hard because, like, I don't know. I guess going forward, let's say, like, if this team was to win, here's why you think they won. Like, here's what they got hot in, or here's what they did. Because the loss is kind of going to just be the opposite every time. So we can just stick with just the win, also to not make it last too long. But
Yeah.
Miami Heretics, obviously, this one's a lot tougher because, like, it's a harder to imagine a world where the Miami Heretics win. I think to me, it's like the story of like if Miami Heretics won, we're talking about like Real as just a superstar god.
Yep.
Like, I think Real's gonna have to go Super Saiyan, IW Formal, Black Ops 3, John, your favorite player, Brock. I
Oh
think like
no. No.
he's gonna have to go Super Saiyan. Like, I think we're talking about Real dropped to 1.2 with the SMG and he dominated. Like, I think that's the storyline if Heretics are somehow able to get this done. I think it's because, yeah, a guy like Real, who's like arguably their most talented player that could have those pop off moments, he's gonna have to be bringing it all weekend. And he dropped like a 1.2 and won like a crazy MVP. That's how Miami wins it in my eyes.
Yeah, I would say Real playing super good, like you said, and just the team in general playing good. Because if one of the players not playing that good on the team, you're just not gonna win against these
Yeah,
top.
it's gonna have to be like a world where all of them are just shooting and they just don't have like this team is prone to just stinker performances from one player like all the time.
Yeah,
It's
and like
superstar Ray Allen, yeah.
yeah, and just like clutching up from all these players, all clutch up in certain moments like against search or control, hard point here and there.
Yeah, I agree. It's just tougher to think of these things for these teams because it's like it's not hard to imagine a world where FaZe wins, but it's very hard to imagine a world where Heretics wins.
Yeah, like you said, many MVP performances.
Yeah. All right, Brock. Going to subliners once again, another team where we just saw them when it's easier to imagine. Obviously, like the obvious picks are it's like Hydra, continues to play at that MVP level. Maybe Sib. For me, I think it's if they continue to harmonize this like super structured, but like more aggressive play style because like my complaint about them for the first three majors or so when they were like for the most part looking good but just like couldn't get over the hump with the other top four teams was the fact that it seemed like they were playing too structured. Like it seemed like they were and it sounds like counterintuitive. It's like, well, they're always trying to make the right play. How can that be like wrong? But like I think they were trying to make the right play too much. Like they were trying to make everything so perfect that like they made it unwinnable for the other team when it's like sometimes you just have to make the weird play because
Hmm.
like they're expecting you to hit this angle or like hit the front here because it's the common thing. Like sometimes you have to take that weird pinch or like hold that weird off angle. And I think Subliners last tournament were able to maybe like harmonize that like structure with kind of like the chaoticness and able to get it done. Um so I think that's kind of the win condition for them.
Yeah,
Like I think it's like a harmonizing that I guess is it's hard to kind of like put it into words, but like they continue that super structured style where they're able to just I don't know, just kind of outsmart teams or just outplay teams by always making the correct play, but are able to also mix in that chaoticness and let Hydra, loose to make more plays and they kind of harmonize it and they become a pretty unbeatable team when they do that.
yeah, I would agree. The win condition, I feel like, is a part of how they won last term. Is Kismet was back to form. Hydra played easy, like his usual self, and Sib was maybe wasn't going 30 and 10, 30 and 15, but he was like going 30 and 30 with a bunch of damage to each map, and the guys just do the dirty work.
That's a very good shout also. I mean, you have a very good shout. I think you simplified it even better than like I did for sure. Like Kismet playing well is a
Hmm.
catalyst for this team. Like when Kismet's playing well, that typically means just with the way that Kismet plays, if he's playing well, that usually means the map is super open for Hydra and Sib to make plays and Skies to just do what it takes to win.
Yes,
So
guys, just doing
yeah,
the
I
not
definitely
so
agree with
fun
that.
stuff.
I definitely agree with that though. Like if it's kind of like for the most part, it's like those dirty work, like objective kind of entry type SMGs. Like, and a BZ is kind of an anomaly because he's like the entry SMG that's always slayed so well.
Yeah.
But like for guys like Kismet, where like Kismet does have series where he struggles in the slaying department, but Kismet's a hell of a player, and like I agree. Like when Kismet's on, it's like, how do you beat this team? Because when he's on, that probably means Hydra's going off, and probably means Sib's going off, and Skies is always kind of doing his thing in his role.
Hmm.
So like when Kismet's off, that's when it's like the map becomes harder for Hydra and Sib. So I 100% agree with you. Like if Kismet's popping off this weekend and playing really well, it's hard to imagine a world where subliners aren't at least in the top three.
Yeah, they'll be definitely scary. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then Brock, we've got Surge. Win condition for them. This is a weird one because like it's for whatever reason, now that I think about it, it's like almost even harder for me to imagine Surge winning than Miami, even though I picked Surge to beat Miami. I I don't know, like what the win condition for this team, I feel like it's gotta be like your SMG duo has one for the ages, like O4 and huke. Just
Yeah.
have a tournament for the ages. And I think it's once again for this team, it's like it's through S&D. Like they have
Hmm.
got to be the best S&D tournament in the venue, best S&D team in this tournament in the venue. And I think it's gonna have to be behind the SMGs. Like maybe you could say a Booza superstar performance, but the AR can only carry you so far. Uh, I don't know. I think it's gonna have to be like O4 and huke have the tournament of their lives and are able to shut down other elite SMG duos.
Yeah, I agree. Like just like the teamwork strategy within the search and destroy,
Well,
because they're definitely not all gonna. They're not gonna win hardpoint against some of these teams.
well, Brock, their most likely run, if they were to make it to finals through winners, like their most likely run is this SMG duos they're playing are Hydra and Kismet, then most likely Simp and Abizi, and then most likely Kleenex and Envoy, or maybe shottzyy and Pred. Like
Yeah.
they're facing crazy elite SMG duos. Like their most likely run includes, like I said, it obviously includes New York because they play them, and then it most likely includes FaZe, and then it includes either OpTic or Toronto, most likely. So like they're facing three of the best SMG duos in the world. Like their SMGs are going to have to be on point if they want to get this done.
Yeah. Can't be seen the hook drop a stinker if they
No,
wanna
that's
win.
I just don't trust their SMG duo to pop off that consistently. That's why I don't think they're going to go crazy far in the tournament.
Yeah.
Toronto Ultra versus LAT. Toronto, Toronto for the win condition, Brock. To me, oddly enough, it comes down like it doesn't come down to the superstars at all. I trust that Scrap is going to play well because Scrap always plays well, except for randomly sometimes in that final last year.
Yeah.
Um, I honestly trust Kleenex. I mean, Kleenex does have his stinkers. It's been his whole career. He randomly has off games. I trust Kleenex for the most part. I think he's going to be fine. Honestly, Insight, he's had his struggles, but I kind of trust him to do his job here at Champs. It's Envoy for me. Kind of like
No,
Kismet, it's Envoy.
I agree with you there.
If Envoy's popping off, this team's pretty much impossible to beat. Like they're hard to beat. But he has had some bad series, bad splits, bad tournaments. It's all Envoy for me. If Envoy's playing really well, this team is gonna be hard to beat. If he's not, yikes, watch out. They could be out early.
Yeah, I'm kind of literally on the same boat as you. Envoy playing good, and clutching up, search and destroy, and doing what he did, kind of like on LAT when they won Vanguard.
Yeah. Clutch player, making all the right plays, and also bring it in the slaying department.
Yep.
Just making life easier on Toby and Scrap.
hmm Agreed.
Rock LAT, oddly enough, I think a lot of people would say like Ghosty's a win condition. He has to be a superstar. I think it's the exact opposite, actually. I trust that Dan Ghosty is going to continue to play how he has and play very well because, I mean, let's be honest, if Ghosty isn't playing that well, this team has no chance.
Yeah.
I think the win condition for them more is the other players. I think it's like everybody around Ghosty. Like
Yeah.
this team could win the tournament if the other players around him finally consistently do something. Like Nasty will have a good moment, or Jodeci's will have a good moment. Um, Kremp will have a good moment. It's just like they never all can do it at the same time. It's always like somebody help Ghosty. Like
hmm
if the other players around him are able to even bring some form of consistency, like just at least be consistent in the role you're bringing, that's how this team would win it because Ghosty has been a superstar all year in his role. Like he's been unbelievable. I think it's like one other player steps up and is like a star with Dan Ghosty, and the other two just are very good in their roles. I think it's maybe like a situation. Oddly enough, I think it's like Kremp. Because you see the snappy POV from Kremp, I think he could have a point where he pops off. I obviously don't think it's necessarily going to happen. I have them finishing top 8, but I think like if LAT are to win, that's the condition where it's like I think Ghosty was the star. I think somebody else stepped up and was another star, and the other two just were great in their role. That's somebody else has to step up as a second star.
Yep. Agreed. Don't know which one it will be, but
I
like
lean
it's,
towards Kremp, but I don't know.
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you there. I'm for the most part, I'll trust the ARs. It's just the SMGs that have stinkers here and there, and definitely Cramp. Like one game he'll drop 30, and next like respawn game he'll have like 15.
And once again, Brock, like you mentioned the SMGs, what's their road going to be? It's Kleenex and Envoy, then most likely shottzyy and Pred, and then either Hydra and Kiz or Simp and Abizi. Like the SMGs have to be on point, or they're going to get shut down because they're playing some studs.
Yep.
Our last two
But
teams, Brock. What are you gonna say?
in the end, I don't think this team is gonna win.
No, neither do I. Brock, that's our last two teams. Talk about OpTic. I mean, it's hard to say it's not returning to form and search and destroy. Like,
Yeah, that's
obviously,
one.
if they don't return to form and search and destroy, they have no chance. They've been abysmal in the game mode for the past month or two, or I guess not really month or two, just since Major 3 ended. They've been abysmal in search all of Stage 4.
hmm
Um, but that's the cop out answer, so I wanted to go with something else. To me, it's that Pred reform superstar back to his form. Shottzy's been unbelievable for quite some time now. Dashy's honestly been pretty good overall. He's had his struggles, but Dashy's been pretty good overall in his role. Kenny's been struggling as of late, but overall, apart from Major Four, like if we're just talking the old OpTic, Kenny has been pretty good this year. Apart from this last stage, um, I think it's really Pred becoming that superstar again because I do think once again with Kenny's recent struggles, Pred has also been struggling mightily. Shottzy's really been the only one that's been pretty consistently good. I
Hmm.
think Shottzy's going to keep that up. If Pred does start to play like his normal stuff and play really well, I think that's going to open up the map for Kenny more. I think Kenny is then going to start playing better. Dashy will do his thing. I really do think it's Pred's return to form because also not only is it just like Pred's return to form in the game, I think Pred's return to form helps this team so much energy wise. And energy is a big deal, especially at champs.
Yep.
I mean, we saw it in Major 3. Like the way that this team got energy, they were like unbeatable once they started just yelling and like they were getting so hyped. Like that's when this team really hit their stride.
And that's when Pred was screaming after every, every kill and stuff. And then Shotzzy would here and then Brandon would, Dashy.
Yeah, like so. Not only does his return to form obviously help them in game, but I do think that that hype factor is a big thing for this team. Like they even said it after Major 3. Like that was a huge thing for them was how hyped they were getting.
Hmm. And I think they just need to find that clutch factor again, like in Major 3.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Um, you got anything else you want to mention on them for win condition?
Um, no, you kind of hit it on the head. Like, we know Shotzi's gonna play good. Pred is like the question mark, and I'm gonna assume Kenny, since it's champs, he's gonna play very well, and Dashy for the most part will be playing as like his usual self.
Yeah, I completely agree. Brock, then it's your boys. It's LAG. What is their win condition? I mean, they have like a million. It's hard to imagine them winning. I mean, it's got to be like a Estriel legacy performance, dominant search and destroy run. Uh,
Teamwork out the wazoo.
ultimate teamwork. Honestly, you know what it probably is? It's like fame, flames, and Diamondcon find a consistency because Estriel. I mean, they've all had their ups and downs, but Estriel is like probably their overall best player in the year. Diamondcon was popping off early, but kind of had his struggles mid-year. Honestly, like it's probably just like those players finding consistency because it's like one series Flames is like, oh my god, this is why they picked him up, and the next time it's like, should they bring Assault back? He's been horrible, and then like Fame, it's like, yeah, this is the talent we saw when we watched him in like the open bracket in Vanguard when we were at Major 2. Like this is the talent we saw. Like Fame was popping off and just like talking trash, and like he was playing amazing. And then other times it's like, oh my god, he can't get a kill. It's
Hmm.
like those other three around Estriel finding consistency, and then obviously Estriel legacy tournament, search to destroy dominance. Like obviously this team has way more things that need to go right for them because I mean, be honest with yourself. Like the talent level of this team isn't at the level of the top four or even some of the other teams maybe.
Yeah, definitely gonna need that. Just that that teamwork. That what's the word I'm looking for? That kind of friendship in a way. If they're friends outside that game, friendship. Maybe they'll surprise some people, and probably Nuzzle will help in there against most of these teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. That's it, Brock, though. That's all the win conditions for the teams. You got anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, just excited to head down to champs and see how this all plays out. Should be a fun weekend.
Should be an incredible week, incredible trip. Hopefully we don't die in the heat.
Yeah, it'll be very warm though, like last year in Vegas.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it. Like we said, thank you guys for all the support this year. If you're a new listener, drop that sub, comment down below, drop a like, do all of that good stuff. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We appreciate all your guys' support as always. Like I said, we'll see you back a little bit later next week, probably like a Wednesday or Thursday episode getting uploaded, just because just getting back from champs. Um, later, it'll be hard to get that episode out. Obviously, we're not getting back to later. So, yeah, expect something a little bit later in the week. We won't have the normal posting time for the episode as we will be out at champs. We appreciate all your support as always. Obviously, it's a sad time of year for us also because the season's ending. It means the content cycle starts to suck a little more for us because we don't have matches to talk about and roster moves and all this stuff. It kind of starts to die out. But I'm interested to see what the landscape looks like here coming up with the Esports World Cup. It's a little bit of a different offseason as teams still have to make rosters to play for the next month, then maybe make changes after that. Maybe gives teams like a weird trial period where they can try rosters before playing with them next year.
Hmm.
But like I said, if you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We appreciate all your support as always. And we will see you guys next week after we crown a CDL 2024 champion. Thank you guys so much for watching.